Hey everyone, this is Neil King for Random Acts of Cartooning. So this episode, I went out to a Halloween store, Spirit of Halloween, and I was looking at. I love going in and seeing costumes and stuff, all the things that they have that people can use for Halloween and all that stuff. So I went in and I looked at a whole bunch of stuff and I decided to. I'm about to start a new sketchbook, and my new sketchbook is this specific one is just going to be for travel images. I have one that's pen and ink, like a Bic pen, of course, um, where I just anywhere we travel, we'll do it. But I thought I would start one where I'm not using a brush line. I'll use a pencil line or and just watercolor. So it has a different effect. And for my cartooning style, I think it kind of is a variety and adds a little variety to the stuff that I'm doing. So this is the book, and so the first page are some images that I started with from going out there and taking some video. I couldn't draw in the store. I think it's not really not set up well for me to stand there and do some of these images. So when you see this, these are some of the images that are on some of the videos. So I took some video and I took some stills and I kind of get in there and had some fun. And all this is a wash on top of, I have some watercolor pencils. So I decided to do either red or a deep blues for the line. So when I do a sketch, I sketch it out like that. And then I work on top with a wash, and I'll go back in with a line to tighten things up. Because again, I am a cartoonist, and this is kind of how I see stuff. But I think it gives me a little bit variety, and I'm trying to experiment with my stuff as we go through. Okay, so I'm going to be going on to this next page to do some more from this specific day that I went out there and I filmed. Okay, so this is the place I went, Spirit of Halloween, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You walk in, has these great different types of, things. Here's some masks I find, all kinds of great images, great texture on them. Here's another one. Again, these are all just like pretty famous horror films. Some of the things that they have out there would have just been like your typical skulls and things like that, or these kind of Victorian kind of baby doll things that are just terrifying, right, to some people. And the wall of masks that you would always get in things like this. Great images. It's fun to kind of see this kind of stuff, but this is what it looks like. I tried to move around and get some of this. And then even this big kind of set piece, which I'll try to draw also within the work that we're doing for this sketchbook. But before I go, as usual, I like to show a little influence here. I have, because it's October, I'm very interested in, I love Steve Ditko, and I'll show lots of his work as the episodes go on. But he was really great at making. These are his stint on the creepy comics, and the magazine, and he did all those kind of crazy characters. People, he's the genius behind Spider-Man and so many of the different Doctor Strange and stuff. He made all that stuff up, and he made all those characters, Sandman and all those things. But he did so much work before then, and these are kind of like monster comics and things. So I always think of him in these types of things. And when it's around Halloween, I like to look at some of his work because I think it is very inspiring. He has a variety of stuff, but a great storyteller, and but once he got into Marvel, he was doing things, you know, a little bit less risque. But I love his comics here, just like a wolf and things like that. There's just so many great dynamic things that he does. So I was thinking about him to show some reference of where I'm kind of going with all this. Um, so if you don't follow or recognize some of Ditko's work, he just had done such a huge amount of work. Great characters. That's the influence for all this. Okay. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to base everything off of some of the images that I've started with. So I'm just going to, usually, again, I want to be outside and at a specific place to do it, but this specific one is, I couldn't do it there. Like even just filming the stuff that I have here, I think put them off a little bit. Like people aren't usually in their store doing that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to base this off of some of the images, and I saw one that I really liked. So I'm going to try to do my double spread with this wall of masks that I saw. So I'm trying to do a few here, and then maybe I'll do a secondary little piece of some other kind of an image just to kind of get through. And this is kind of how I would handle it. So again, with this, compared to what I usually would do, I would usually have a pencil for this, but I thought I would try this watercolor pencil. And some of these images are just the craziest images, like these masks. So I really like them. And I'm going to do what I usually do with this. I keep looking for my main proportions right away. This is a great mask. It has just all these, another thing. And when you put them next to each other, it's just so cool to see. Because somebody, you know, I don't know who wears some of these masks, but this is just like this big mouth. And on the side of it, I mean, there's more to this mask, but all you see is that. And then next to it, again, I see another, this weird hooded one, but it's fleshy. And then this comes off. It's almost like this one's kind of like a pharaoh looking one, I guess. And then one more that looks kind of like a bat. Again, if I felt comfortable, I would have done this there. But they're just, I was walking around and I didn't feel like that was the move that I should do. But I did really love the images that they have. So I'm just going to do these few that are here. I'm trying to just keep it in some close proximity to what they have there. Now the good thing about this watercolor pencil is if I do make a few mistakes, like where I'm putting things, the watercolor, when I go on top of it, I can make this disappear. So that's cool, and it actually adds to some of the color that I'm using with my watercolors. So yeah, like I think I'm looking forward to trying to do this in this regard and see how it evolves over the weeks and months that I'm going to be doing this stuff. It's supposed to be some kind of a pig or something. Mine looks a little more like a wolf. But they're all just crazy. Like, look at this. This is what, and when you walk into these stores, I love just the smell of that plastic and I don't know, it reminds me of being a kid when you used to wear a mask. And they were all cheap, back then when I was growing up. But that smell of that mask, because you're wearing it and you're all, if you're out trick-or-treating and stuff, you're wearing that the whole time. But that smell reminds me of Halloween because of it. So again, I'm just trying to move through a few of them. They're interesting. They're all very different. Get this weird, there's a weird rabbit one here. Again, I'm just trying to lay in what I'm seeing here. Keep it loose. And there's just a whole wall more of them. There's just so many. I think this could kind of bring us into the design. So I'm trying to not allow it to like have to be the whole page. I kind of like a little vignette here, and then maybe have another close-up of something, and then that would be my setup for these sketches for this sketchbook. Instead of just, maybe I can do sometimes one smaller or medium and a bigger one. I don't know, but I kind of like the idea of having the book, think of it as a spread every time I do it, and then from there go in and do it, and then come back on top of it. All right, so I've got this pencil stage of this, or the watercolor pencil stage of this. So before I go any further with the color, I wanted to show another one of the books that I have on my Amazon store that you can go up to Amazon.com and take a look at. But in all the YouTube pieces that I've been doing so far, all the episodes, all the information, all the details are in the write-up within the video that you can see. So this is Forgotten Planet. It's one of the things I'd done some time ago, but it was a web comic, and I collected it over a long time. I don't know, maybe it was a year or so. And it's just these two characters. It's based off of, there's a traditional one, if you've ever seen the Forbidden Planet. It has a robot and a woman, and it's a great poster, but the story has nothing that much to do with what goes on in the real movie. That's what they used to do a lot for the B movies. So I decided to make a story about those two characters on that poster. So it's, it's like a love affair between these two characters, this robot. It was a lot of fun, and it's in horizontal format, so you read it down. But it's kind of crazy, and they meet all these nutty characters. So there's all these love triangles, Rex and some of these guys. But I did really have a great time with it, and fun to see. And as always, try, if you can, to go in and buy some of the books. That's why I'm doing all these episodes. And as always, make sure that you're liking and subscribing if you haven't so far. Great. Forgotten Planet. It's a fun read. Okay, so here we go. I'm getting my watercolors out. And I'm just doing what I always do, is try to lay in some different color and to see where I want to go with this stuff. So there's a lot of kind of fleshy colors I'm seeing so far in the pictures that I'm going by. And so I want to try to lay those in first, see what it does with this watercolor pencil. And as soon as you put it on there, as you may or may not be able to see, is that pink gets into some of that warmth, kind of gets into the piece. So I kind of like that. I want to see that happen. I'm trying to add some yellows and reds into some white. I don't want it to be too cartoony though, no fleshes, but you do kind of need a bottom layer to all these things. And what I'm trying to do is just, as always, like, this helps my cartooning, because I am getting used to drawing things, like just seeing things from life. And if you do enough of this, you definitely learn, to fake some images as you're a cartoonist, especially if you're doing stories and stuff and you need a character to look a certain way or you have some plan on some things. So by doing these types of exercises, I always think that it's helpful for me overall to do this kind of stuff. So I'm trying to add, as I usually would, um, some of the same colors throughout some of the pieces. They may not wind up being all this pink, but to have some of that color around will unify this image eventually. So again, I'm just laying in some of that light value. And then as I see other colors in, some browns, lay some of that in, get in there. And that's why I hope that these will have a different feel than my other type of work. Because when I do my books and all, I'm working on the computer and I draw with my Wacom Cintiq. And when you work with that, your style just changes. So I want the thing that I like about sketching is that I'm just trying to get an impression of what I'm seeing, and that I'm not overwhelmed by all this. I'm not worried so much about super realism, but I want people to get a sense of what this looks like. And I definitely feel like when I'm not working with my black line, that it just changes what my stuff looks like. Even just these greens that I'm seeing here, I want to use some of them in different places, and it's just a value. But I think it definitely adds to all of these things. Like even if I'm going to add more to these gums on this crazy mouth, I just have a little water and my watercolors here. But I think this is it just changes who I am and who I feel like I'm supposed to be every single time. I'll try to put a little detail in some of these things, but I feel like this one's turning out a little a little more like as if I'm doing a complementary color piece here, because there's a lot of reds and greens, but these just happen to be next to each other in the store, so I don't want to lose that. It's over here. And then just to kind of give silhouette kind of feel for these, I'm going to give a little bit of green in this one. This is mostly gray, this rabbit one. I feel like it's in the store, it's catching some of this green. And then as always, I just kind of go in, I want to try to get some darks in here to get some contrast. I'm going around, going for some consistency here. I like this, the feel that it's giving me here of when you put these kind of colors together with that with that red color pencil. And because it's watercolor, it breaking down like that is good. It really, I think it changes the whole look of what I'm doing. And like I was saying, my feeling about my style is this is me, and I don't want to try to be something else than than what I do. But I think to open up some different avenues of my style would be good as as an artist, and that I'm not just staying and doing the same thing all the time. So I'm just going through, adding a little detail. I think they're interesting looking. They're so crazy. And again, like if I usually would be there drawing, I would be making all kinds of decisions. I'd be like, all right, this is too dark, this is too light. But when you have when you're home and you're using this reference, it does change your feelings about some of these things. I just want it to also be, I just want to keep looking and not make this up. All these kind of things, I know I could draw these things. I've thought of these types of characters. Never seen these specific, but as a cartoonist, these are the kind of things you kind of do. You produce this kind of work, these funny characters. So again, it's just, you can see, nice light wash. And then I would just go in with some type of a pencil. I'm still using the watercolor pencils here. And I'm making sure that now for a little of the detail I can go on top. I don't want to overpower it, but I like having some of the cool color, like a blue, on top. And then while I'm doing that, I'm probably walking too fast. I should wait, let this dry a little bit, but I'm just going in. But I like it on top of it and still seeing some of that red underneath. And as a sketch, it just has a quality that I'm kind of into right now. As I go through, I really do want it to look like them. I've probably changed them a little bit here. This is the pig head. It looks a little more like a pig now. And then this comes off, and it just kind of comes off it. I don't want to, again, the background for this, I'm not trying to do anything. Just focusing on this. But for this video, I think what I'll do is I'll just show this one piece, and then I'll kind of finish up the other side with a second illustration to finish it up, and I'll just show it how it kind of turns out at the end. I feel like this kind of gives a nice impression of what that store looked like. You walk through, you're trying to find some costume for yourself, and you just have all of these, really some of them, these very morbid looking things. People love it. I just love, that's why people love Halloween. I mean, this is what it's about, right? Seeing yourself in this. Imagine somebody getting this strange rabbit thing. I'm sure it's a character from something. And it just kind of goes down. I love just the material that they're using, this kind of gauzy material. All this nutty stuff. And then, but it really makes it. I think that I'm surprised that when you go to these places, it's not more expensive than it is. I feel like it's exactly the price point. I think if you are going to try to get a really cool mask like this, a lot of them are about that. I don't know, I was looking at it like 50 bucks. And I just think that's probably what this should be, how much it should be. Believe it or not, I think that's a pretty realistic amount for some of these masks and for the costumes. Again, I'm just using this blue. Gives a nice mood, right? Kind of has this little feel to it. If I had done this in ink that I usually would do, I think it changes it a little bit. I think the softening of this, and as I experiment maybe with other things outside, or interiors or exteriors with this style, I think there's some potential for some really good stuff. Like I can learn a lot about what I'm doing as I go through. Again, I'm trying to just get a little detail. They're kind of close to what I'm seeing there. Cool teeth. I like all this stuff. You wish that these stores were around. Like you could use it as still life images. I would go to this place every week. They let me walk in and do it, but they want to sell stuff. All right, so I feel like for this is kind of what I got from this. Now remember, this is the way that I had done the others. Oops, this is another one I'm going to show. This is what the original stuff was. And I'm just doing these little pieces as I go through. I'm going to try to finish this page. Okay, here I am. I was drawing the Mars Attacks guy, who was just beautiful. I love the character. So I'm just adding some little detail to it. I do want these to be spreads. And I'm trying to get the character of him. He's so crazy looking with those eyes. I'm trying to kind of stay as close as I can, but not just, I don't want to get too, do too much here. A lot of detail in him. When I was doing the sketch, I just kept looking back and forth to it because he's inside that the glass that goes around him on his helmet. So I want to try to keep that, the feel of that transparency. But with my line of the blue, just want to get that great, But I've tried to put on some nice yellows and greens. They're all kind of muted. There is a much different effect when you're not using black. To have a line that's black is so strong that anything you put underneath it is always going to take a back seat. But if you're using blue like this, then there's a whole different feeling. And I think for cartoonists, we just don't do this enough. I rely so much on the strength of my black line. But when you see it like this, and you're like, I think the design becomes different. Because it's a sketch, can get away with a lot more. And sticking with the way I look at things. I think it makes for an interesting graphic for the double page. I probably could have put a little more here, and maybe I will eventually. I like the blue line. I like indication he's got a jetpack thing in the back, I think. Or no, it's oxygen maybe. Well, from his world. I don't forget. It's a great movie. Looks all crazy. It's just a great character. He's got those beady eyes. I want to make sure you see all that. Fun. Yeah, definitely. It's much more of I think, of a multimedia feeling piece to it when you do a sketch like this. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Make sure again to like and subscribe, and I'll continue to go on out there and try this technique um, for variety on all these episodes. See you.